Hey, buddy.
Buddy.
How you doing?
Mildly stressed out. We just spent the last hour and a half.
Yeah.
Man, it goes by so fast. Watching the women's basketball, but mostly working on some fantasy football stuff. We had a cool, unique, first time we ever tried anything like this, approach to randomizing the draft order. Typically, we just let Yahoo do it. I don't know if this is more a me thing or if this is like the two of us together in agreement, but just wanting everything to always be above board and just like nobody can possibly question like any sort of bias or favoritism or anything like that.
Yeah.
And to that effect, despite having ideas in the past, it's always been like just press the button in Yahoo and Yahoo is the thing. And this year, do you want to talk about it or do you want me to talk about it?
It doesn't matter.
This year, it's an Olympics year. I mean, we talked about this last time actually, but we tied everybody's. We used a randomizer. We pulled up a list of everybody competing in the women's marathon in the 2024 Paris Olympics, and started at 1 a.m. last night. Finished sometime around 3:30, and I forget if it was 81 or 91, but I think it was 81. Racers that were in it, we got a randomizer and recorded all of this of randomly assigning the league members to one of those 81 racers. Put that out, the video recording, everybody knew who the racer was. Woke up this morning to the results. Had a couple people did not finish. It was like, okay, well that's fine. We'll be able to just kind of see on Twitter or something where everybody did. It turns out there's not a lot of coverage. Not a lot of people interested. And those that were, lots of different languages going on. So that was a bit of a challenge. You thankfully pointed out that on the Olympics webpage, you can expand the information they have there, and it tells you kind of their last check-in, 15 kilometers, 25 kilometers, etc. But we got our stack rank list. So then the next thing to do was to pull photos. We always do a draft order video, and pull photos of the runners, racers, and then once again kind of ran into some difficulty of finding, like obviously we wanted photos of everybody crossing the finish line, but the Olympics coverage was like the first like 4 or 6 people that made it, and then it was like, all right, peace out.
Yep.
And positives of this, I think there was one that was separated literally by a second.
Yep.
Yeah. There was another, I think me and Tom were separated by 9 seconds. Had anybody stayed up to watch the race, I think it would have been interesting. But apparently also, like, that video is probably reflective of the NBC coverage, right?
That's what I'm guessing. So if you stayed up, or waiting to see who finished 20-something, 30-something, you wouldn't have seen it.
So as an entertainment artifact, it probably would have been frustrating, but as a data sorting artifact, it did its job.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was cool, but then also this took longer than I thought it wanted to be. Came over here at 9, wanted to be out of here by 11. It's basically 11.
Yeah.
So my bad. We still got a little bit of work to do, but that's pretty much locked down. As far as like setting changes, we still got some work to do. I think we have like 20 minutes of like admin work to do when it comes to changing this and sending out Zoom invites that. But the theme, we're like 94.5% there.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we know what the theme is. We just got to come up with a name for it.
Yeah.
Which...
It's not confusing. In which, out of the 3 things we talked about, any of them would probably work just fine.
It's just we're perfectionists.
Yeah.
We want it to be exactly how we want it.
Yeah. So we'll sort that out.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, all in all, it's I'm just real excited now.
Yeah.
I mean, other than today being the very last day of the Olympics, which is a bummer.
Yeah, so on my bullet points to talk about Olympics, draft order and league thing, we just did that. Preseason football. So Olympics have dominated. this last week especially.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of track and field. It's been pretty cool.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the women's volleyball team took silver this morning against Italy.
Yeah, we needed that. So now I think we're going to be locked in with a tie for most golds with China.
Yeah, except we've got like 50 more medals outside of that than they do.
I mean, it's true, but it's all about golds.
Mm-hmm.
But
in that degenerates chat that I talk about sometimes, there's a guy in there, he's super into crypto, and whatever. He's committed to the idea that this century is China's century and the U.S. is on the descent, and he'll use anything to be proof of that. And definitely the Olympics medal count is one of them. And other folks are like, RJ, or what, his name's RJ. If that were true, then like in the past you would expect them to be lower and like climbing, but they've always been like second or fourth for decades and decades because there's billions of them. Mm-hmm. And when you've got that kind of pool, you can do some good things. But in celebration of Chinese athletes, they might have gone perfect across the board in diving. Like I know at one point they were 6 for 6. I think there were like, I think there's only like 7 or 8 events. So they may have done a clean sweep, but at one point they were certainly pulling off the sweep. And it's impressive stuff, seeing them do that.
I love diving.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I wish I was a 3-meter springboard diver.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be my dive. My diving apparatus.
That, and I think the uneven bars are definitely sports where you're like, that was amazing, and the judges are like, that was just
trash.
So many degrees off perfect.
I love how after watching a few rounds of a competition, I'll start pretending like I'm an expert and like, oh, do you see they under-rotated their feet just a hair in that dive and caused a little bit of a splash?
Ash was adamant that we needed to watch artistic swimming.
Yeah.
Did you see any of it?
No.
Dude, it's a trip. She hyped it up so much that the U.S. women's team, for artistic swimming, is broken into 3 categories. One of them is technical, one of them is acrobatic, and then there's a freestyle one, where it's just like, get in there and impress us.
Show us what you got.
Show us what you got. The women's team at one point did a Michael Jackson themed one,
mm-hmm.
and they did the moonwalk upside down. And I was like,
I saw that. I saw a clip of it.
I thought it would be like the length of time that Michael Jackson did it on stage.
Yeah.
Like like 4 beats maybe, and it was like a beat and a half.
Yeah. They were drowning. Their heads were underwater.
Dude, that's a huge takeaway from that. So the once you watch like a bunch of them, you're like, oh, okay, this is kind of a lot of the same stuff over and over again. Out of the 3 categories, we started out in artistic or in free, because assumed that it would just be like freaky deaky.
Yeah.
And the first team that went in there is France. And if you get a chance later, watch that, because it was freaky deaky. And it was like, this is crazy. But then when you start watching a few of them, the things that they all do are like get upside down vertical, and try and do like a 180 with their hips, like face one direction, face the opposite direction, come back. And some of those combination of moves, not sure what I'm trying to say here, but some of those combos that they do underwater, you're like, guys, it's too long. And they're only in there for so long because they're doing so much, it feels like it's a really long time. But even the amount of time that they're in there, they're not allowed to touch the bottom of the pool.
Right.
So even just like treading water would be exhausting. But they're not just treading water, they're doing so much and like constantly you're like, you're gonna drown. But they're athletes, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And then it turned out that the Michael Jackson thing, after watching a bunch of different countries do their thing, the Michael Jackson bit wasn't even in the freestyle, it was in the technical. So then we had to watch the technical.
Silly.
Yep. But that was cool. Men's basketball. We came together yesterday to watch that as a gang.
Mucho stress.
Yeah. Very much so. But, I mean, Steph Curry is definitely the hero of that game.
Yeah.
Iconic performance.
Just Steph Curry doing classic Steph Curry things.
Yeah.
Just when it matters, doesn't matter who's guarding him, where he's on the floor, he's gonna make threes. He's just gonna sink them. That's just what he does.
He's so special. It'd be one thing if it was like Ray Allen, like his feet planted and he's got a beat and he's just very, very, very accurate.
Mm-hmm.
But so many times it's like, he's not going to make that because he just like, he's still moving to where he's going to shoot from when he catches the ball and just like auto shoots. I'm like, come on, man. And nails it. And I feel like all of he got 4 threes to close that game. And like that fourth one.
That was the most ridiculous one.
I think the first one was pretty ridiculous because I think that was the one that was over Wemby. And
the one with the 87,
Yeah.
87 degree launch angle.
There's a lot of posters of that. But then, like, by the fourth one, after he'd already gotten 3 in a row, and we were up, I think, 3, and there were moments left, and France was fighting back. And Curry had it, and I was like, you got LeBron open. We've got a Hulk. And he shoots it and drains it.
That was the most, like, he was, like, falling backwards and to the side with 2 guys right on top of him.
Mm-hmm.
And it just looks like he's just throwing it up for dear life. But,
Yeah.
like, he's just so good. He is, and I mean, I'll say it, he's the greatest shooter of all time.
Mm.
Like, I think that's pretty across the board. Everybody would agree that when it comes to just pure shooting, he's the best to ever do it.
I can't really disagree. I would just add to that it's like, it's the in motion. It's like the accuracy percentage is one thing, but like doing it how he does it is just so impressive.
And it's all down to his technique. Like, he has a different 3-shot technique than most players do. Like, his is a one motion 3. He starts at ball in his midsection and then shoots from there all in one motion, whereas in most guys they have to bring the ball up over their head and then they shoot. And his is just one motion from like off the dribble to release, and it's just he's the GOAT at it. And just the fact that kind of who he is and where he's played forever, like, I've never been able to root for him because I just kind of don't like him. Not saying that I don't respect him, but him finally, like, and it's also wild that this was his first ever Olympics.
Pretty wild, yeah.
But
Because Golden State won a bunch of championships
right,
on him.
I forgot where I was going with that. Something about this is his first one.
He's 36.
Yeah. I don't know.
That style of play, I mean, presumably he could play deep into his career, but 36 is kind of old for a basketball player.
Yeah, I don't see him making another Olympics. Being 40.
Yeah.
I mean, LeBron, he's 39, and he already said yesterday that he doesn't see himself playing in LA in 28.
LeBron named the MVP. And for all the things that he used to get clowned on for doing, like having the sweat guard like constantly going higher and higher to hide his receding hairline.
Yeah.
Presumably had been coloring his beard for a while.
Mm-hmm.
He was just letting it all out and just being the guy with the graying beard and no hair.
He's definitely gotten, like, hair transplants. Like, that, his hairline is much better now than it used to be. But he's letting the grays go.
He's leaning into the, I'm a father with a son about to play with me.
Yeah. I mean, you can't be young forever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was a wild game yesterday. Glad we got the dub. Then the women's today is basically just as exciting.
Mm-hmm.
But we pulled that one off as well. So, I mean, overall it was a really solid Olympics. I did the last couple days have been making a strong effort to start slowly weaning off of my Olympics coverage. Because, throughout the whole Olympics, it was like all day, every day, I had Olympics within my view. Like, even while I was working, like, I'd have my personal laptop up and open and just, like, with Olympics going. But in the past, I've been susceptible to really bad post-Olympic depression. Or POD, as I like to call it.
Oh, yeah.
But this year I was like, okay, if we start kind of weaning off, maybe it won't be as bad. And I'm feeling better about it than I have in years past, Olympics past. But it's still kind of sad, but it's good we got football to lean on to. And I've barely watched any preseason football so far just because of Olympics.
So with the Olympics, and we also, like, we work out, we do this, we do that, and there's so many preseason games on. You wouldn't think Ash would be mad for me starting a game while she's still getting up or getting ready to get in the gym. But she was. She's like, "You're watching this without me?" Like, there's so much preseason. We're not going to watch all this preseason. But apparently we are.
It's almost kind of, unless it's been Texans, and then I guess after the basketball game yesterday, it's kind of been a no-no to put on football when we should be watching Olympics. But Jared finally loosened that up a little bit yesterday, and after the football game, we were watching the Chargers-Seahawks game.
Cool. Yeah, it's all over now.
Yeah. Except for the closing ceremonies, which I'm going to have to watch because apparently Tom Cruise is going to do some crazy stunts.
I like the sports more than the ceremony for sure.
Well, me too, but you got TC doing some of his crazy TC stuff. You got to watch.
I probably won't watch. Probably be catching up on football.
Communist.
Okay. The preseason and how they do it has changed a little bit, but a lot of teams starting starters in I guess if you count this as week one. And that's been cool. But I don't know, at this point I think I've done like 8 drafts that are like for money. So now that's slowing down as I get ready for like the actual meaningful drafts with crews that I've been with for years on end. Most importantly, obviously, Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yeah.
And now that we have the draft order, I can actually start preparing in earnest.
Yeah, this is when I get serious. When I get in my draft position, that's when I'll start doing some mock drafts. I really need to figure out if there's a way for me to get out of any of these leagues that I tried to get in just to draft only Texans players, but then forgot about the drafts. And then it auto-drafted for me. I'm in like 3 of those. It's cluttering up my Yahoo.
Okay.
It's none of them for money or anything. They're just free rando leagues.
And you're just looking to be an easy team to beat for the rest of the year?
Yeah, I guess. If I can't get out of the leagues, then I'm going to be a non-participant in those leagues.
Well, even if you do get out, though, it's not like Yahoo's going to find human people to take these teams over.
Man, that's not my problem. It's not like there are any leagues that someone created. They're like Yahoo created leagues, random people went in, like whatever.
Just the random people problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You're not going to shame me or make me feel bad at all.
I don't think I could, Kelly. I think that's up to you.
Get off your high horse, Nate. Quit being weird. You're so weird.
Yeah, I know what you're doing there. That was kind of it for the pre-planned things. I had like a big thoughts thing that Jared and I got into, but I don't know.
I only had one thing I was going to bring up today, and it would only take probably about 30 seconds to talk about.
What's that?
Just watching this progress of the Boeing Starliner crew up on the space station.
Yeah.
Like, they're originally supposed to be up there for like 10 days or 2 weeks or something, and now it looks like they're not going to be coming back until February.
Do you remember when they first got up there, there was a drill that was accidentally, like, the public could hear it? Mm-hmm. You remember this?
Yeah, I do.
But now actually there was a problem?
Yeah.
So, coincidence?
I don't know. The whole thing is, like, just totally screwed. Like,
Do you know any of the details?
a little bit.
What's that?
So, there's propellant leaks. And, so they don't really know if the thrusters will do everything they need to do to safely get the craft away from the space station back to Earth safely. Which they've been trying to troubleshoot now for weeks at this point. But one thing that I'm seeing is that it seems like for just some unknown dumb reason, for this crewed flight, like, originally the Starliner spacecraft does have the ability to auto return home to the planet, but someone disabled that because it was a crewed mission, and they just turned off the ability to switch that on. So now the whole thing is, it seems like NASA just does not trust putting people in that thing to go home in, because they don't know if it's going to make it back safely or in the right spots. But because they can't auto-return it, they have to figure out how to just jettison it into space and get rid of it with no one on board. But I don't think they can disconnect it from the space station automatically because that stuff had been turned off. So I think it might just be stuck on that docking port of the space station forever.
Just maybe not leaking propellant.
I mean, it'll run out of it at some point. So it's a huge cluster. I don't even know what's gonna happen. I mean, apparently the space station, I think they're supposed to decommission it within the next 5 to 10 years anyway.
Yeah, time's coming.
I was seeing some things that they're thinking about. It wouldn't take a whole lot to, like, keep it going, but now if they just lost a whole docking port on it, that's gonna really mess things up.
Yeah,
because they don't have a ton of those. I think they have like maybe 2 or 3. And now one's just forever locked.
Yeah.
They're just taken. And Boeing is just doing Boeing things. And it's weird because I just read like 2 days ago that they just won a contract to build this new type of aircraft for someone. And I'm like, why are we still going with Boeing? Like, this is...
Yeah.
There's no... I don't understand it.
It's because they're one of only like 3. Like Boeing, General Dynamics, Raytheon. Is that even still independent, or is that part of one of the other 2?
Yeah, I was trying to think who Lockheed was a part of now.
But that's, like, what does too big to fail look like, guys? What does we let monopolies go too long, too strong look like, guys?
Yeah.
Like, Boeing is publicly shitting the bed on a monthly basis. Like, for quite a while now. And they're still like, yeah, you can have more business.
I remember a couple of years ago, I was thinking, like, man, it would be so cool to get a job with Boeing. So glad I never found a job with Boeing. I feel real bad about that now. But that's just wild to me, just from the astronaut's point of view. Like, I'm seeing a lot of things, like, saying that they're happy for this, because this was going to be their last chance to go to space ever in their careers anyway, so they want as many days in space as they can get.
Yeah.
But, like, what about their, like, families?
That's what I think about, too. Having been deployed and having done things that ended up taking a little bit longer.
But, I mean, this isn't just a little longer. This went from 10 days to, like, 8 months.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's, like, movie stuff. Like,
Guaranteed to miss a birthday or 2 in there.
That's just wild.
I think you probably know better than I do, but I think the space station is one of like several NASA projects that was like be good for this many years, and then we're like way past that.
Well, that they do that on purpose. Like they over design everything, and then they definitely give conservative estimates as to the usability. So, like similarly in like building airplanes, like an airplane might be rated plus or minus 4 Gs, so it can go. It's rated to pull 4 positive Gs or go 4 negative Gs. And that's what they say you should do, but in reality, those can go 8, 10 Gs either direction. Like, they over-engineer these things. But, I mean, yeah, over and over again throughout my life, just seeing NASA stuff that's like, was like the Voyager probe and this and that. It's just like, should have been dead 20 years ago, but it's still kind of out there doing its thing.
The Mars rovers are a great example of that. Mm-hmm. Do you know off the top of your head when the International Space Station went up?
I mean, it was started in the late 70s, early 80s, because that was pretty much the whole purpose for the space shuttle. Like, it was designed to ferry up pieces of the space station. And that first flew, I think test flight started in the late 70s, and I think the first...
This says designed between 84 and 93. Elements of the station were in construction in the U.S., Canada, Japan, and Europe, beginning in the late 80s. It's different from Skylab, right? I think you might be thinking of Skylab.
Well, I know Skylab was the precursor to that, but I when I'm talking about the shuttle, like I'm pretty positive the shuttle was designed basically to do the space station.
Oh, here you go. It's been in orbit for 25 years. 270 plus astronauts visited. Where I was going with this is turn of the century, 1998, 1999, or like the 80s when they first started development for this. Do you think they had... I don't think there's any way they had a realistic expectation for how many like satellites and space debris would be up there with them. And how like possible it would be to have just so much trash up there that could like compromise the mission. And I think even when they had that drill that was like accidentally released to the public, and people were hearing recordings of like decompression and all that, I was like, I guess it was bound to happen eventually.
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty solid and pretty safe up there.
Yeah. This
whole time.
For all the different video games and TV shows that have, or movies that have shown bad things happening up there. It seems to be a matter of time.
I mean, and that's why they have like an end of life date for the space station, because I think in that instance, like, even if they over engineer things, you can't trust that for people's lives. If it was just like an autonomous satellite or something doing its own stuff, then yeah, just let it go until it breaks. But when you've got to support life on it, there has to be a day when you just be like, okay, we cannot trust this anymore, even if we think it's good.
Even if I think over-engineering was different based in the 80s, where you're like, yeah, it's going to be the only thing up there. To, like, they must have had, like, proto-internet back then, but it's, like, so much changed so quickly in the 90s. Like, 95 to 2005. Where it's like, if you were going to over-engineer something in 1995, I'm sure it looks way different than it did in, like, 85.
I don't know. I think it might kind of be like they just don't make them like they used to kind of thing. Like, stuff was just designed to be foolproof. Like, they're still running like software that they have to use like floppy disks and stuff. Because just the more complicated you make it, the more chances there are to break.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So you got to just keep it as simple as possible and just as reliable as possible.
Have you ever heard our nuclear system is like that too? Specifically our nuclear missile silos?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, is good.
Yeah. It's old, but it's also, like, unbreakable.
Yeah, you can't hack into it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Hope those 2 astronauts are doing alright up there. Just chilling. Just doing experiments, floating around.
I wonder if it affects... Because it's, like, it's not really good for... It's not really healthy to be in zero G for long periods of time. For a bunch of reasons. You're nodding your head, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if they prepare it differently for like 8 days versus 8 months.
I doubt there's much you could do much different instead of besides just trying to keep yourself in utmost physical condition when you're on the ground before you go. But otherwise, I don't think it's like hydrate more or do any little specific things to prepare for it. And I mean, the record for consecutive days in space is well beyond 8 months or whatever they're now projected to be at. But I'm also curious, I haven't looked into this at all, but like the other people on the space station, like, are they going to be rotated out on their regular schedules now, or is everyone being pushed back? I saw that there was supposed to be another launch to the space station that they're going to be suspending for a long time because of all the other issues going on right now. So I don't know if like everybody's stranded up there right now or what that all looks like.
You know if we're still sending people to the moon next year?
As far as I know, I think it's still on track. That's what all the SpaceX Starship tests have been working toward. But they still have a ways to go. Like, they still haven't landed, properly landed one of their Starship test flights. But they're getting close. But that whole thing, that's just... I don't know. I'll be interested to see how that works. I mean, SpaceX has done really good with their space stuff, but the Starship is just so big. Mm-hmm. It's just like the biggest rocket humans have ever messed with before, and then the whole like catching the thruster on like. Have you seen any of that? They have they're known on the launch tower for it. They have something called chopsticks, which is basically like two things coming off the side, and because of the size of the booster on Starship, they're not able to land it like the thrusters on all the like the Falcons. Yeah. Because it's too heavy, it wouldn't be able to support itself if it landed on the ground. So they're like they have these chopsticks. They're now going to try to like bring the thruster back down and then catch it.
What?
With these chopsticks before it touches the ground so it can be reusable.
What's wrong with parachutes, y'all?
It's just, I guess it's too big.
Wow.
Or, I mean, parachutes can only slow it down so much, so if something that big, even under parachute, it would hit the ground at like 20, 25 miles an hour. That's enough to destroy it. So they're getting a little silly right now with some of their stuff. So we'll see how that goes.
I'll make it fall through a series of nets. Just miss the nets by miles.
Reminds me of that guy that skydived without a parachute into a net.
Yeah. He nailed it.
Not really. He was pretty close to the edge. Like 10 more feet in one direction and he would have gone off the side. Yeah. People are crazy.
I am excited to see us get back to the moon.
I'm so excited for that.
I think it'll be neat. I don't know if we'll see it in our lifetimes, but maybe. Hey, we're sending people to the moon on that rotation like we do for the International Space Station right now. People just chill out there and send us pictures of the Earth.
I mean, I think that the plan is to set up a permanent base on the moon, and then that'd be like a staging place to like Mars missions. But I'm also reading that, I guess in the grand scheme of things, there might not be a real reason to have a staging base at the moon to go to Mars. Like, it's not significantly different to get from here to Mars versus from here to the moon to Mars. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. We'll see how that all plays out.
I want to see us get to harvesting gases and minerals in the asteroid belt in Jupiter. Because a whole planet Earth probably won't run out of, like, helium or rare earth metals. But it seems like inevitably we will.
I did just read recently that, like, someone just found a whole bunch of helium that we didn't know about here on Earth. So, like, we're pretty good on that now for a while.
Right.
I mean, we won't see anything in our lifetime, like, getting out to the asteroid belt and stuff. A moon base is definitely possible, and a Mars trip is feasible. I think that's about all we could hope for in our lifetimes.
Yeah.
Unless the UFOs finally show their faces and, like, give us their tech, and then we can just be all over the place real quick.
Speed stuff up?
Yeah.
Probably not, though.
Probably not.
We'll talk about that next time. This is a thought Jared and I were talking about that I haven't I've teased twice now with the dark forest theory and life out there. Talk about that next time.
Okay. You want to wrap it up here then?
Yeah, let's wrap it up so we can finish.
Yeah, we got other stuff to do.
Finish talking about finishing.
Yep. Alrighty. Well, if y'all made it to the end, you know the drill. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, tell your friends. And, it's a good Olympics.
Great Olympics. Peace out, y'all.